The crimson ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly phosphorescence that made the sky bleed. Admiral Caney Vorthak stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion's edge, watching the primitive blue world rotate beneath them. His mandibles clicked in satisfaction as his tactical officer, Commander Zaif Nalteros, approached with the translation matrix. "Admiral, the communication array is ready. Shall we deliver the tribute? Demand?" Vorthak's 6 eyes focused on the planet's surface, where billions of the bipedal creatures scurried about their daily existence, blissfully unaware that their world had just become property of the hegemony. His species, the Kethmori, had conquered 47 worlds in the past century, and each one had followed the same predictable pattern: shock, denial, desperate negotiation, and finally, submission. "Activate the planetary broadcast," Vorthak commanded, his voice a guttural rumble that resonated through the ship's corridors. On Earth, every screen, every device capable of receiving signals suddenly displayed the same image: a towering insectoid creature with burnished copper skin and multiple arms, standing in what appeared to be a command center of impossible technology. The creature's voice, translated through quantum linguistic processors, echoed in every language simultaneously. "Inhabitants of the world you call Earth, I am Admiral Caney Vorthak of the Kethmori hegemony. Your planet has been selected for tribute collection under Galactic Statute 7742 Alpha. You have 72 of your planetary rotations to provide the following: 10 million of your species as laborers, 50% of your freshwater reserves, and 75% of Vididul, your rare earth minerals. Compliance ensures your continued existence. Resistance ensures extinction." In the Pentagon's crisis room, General Hadrian Torque slammed his fist on the conference table. Around him, the world's military leaders stared at screens showing the alien fleet, over 300 vessels of varying sizes, from massive dreadnoughts to sleek destroyers, all bristling with weapons that defied human understanding. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Colonel Ava Stormwind said, addressing the president via secure video link, "our deep space monitoring stations confirm the ships appeared simultaneously across 12 different vectors. Whatever propulsion system they're using, it's beyond our current physics models." President Elena Nighthawk's voice crackled through the speakers. "General Torque, what are our options?" Torque studied the tactical displays, his weathered face grim. "Conventional warfare doctrine suggests we're facing an extinction-level threat. Their technology appears to be centuries, maybe millennia ahead of ours. But—" He paused, his eyes hardening. "We've never been a species that backs down from a fight." The alien broadcast continued, displaying holographic images of previous conquered worlds, once vibrant planets now strip-mined and populated by slave labor camps. The message was clear: submit or die. Dr. Lysander Brightforge, Earth's leading xenobiologist and strategic analyst, reviewed the transmission data in his underground laboratory. His fingers flew across holographic interfaces as he analyzed the alien ships' formations, their communication patterns, their apparent blind spots. "They're following a script," he muttered to his assistant, Dr. Nix Ironheart. "Look at their positioning. It's ceremonial, not tactical. They expect us to surrender without a fight." Above them, the alien fleet maintained its orbit, weapons, powered but not actively targeting. Admiral Vorthak settled into his command throne, confident that within 3 planetary rotations, surrender delegations would arrive begging for mercy. He had no idea that humanity had spent the last century preparing for exactly this moment. Deep beneath the Colorado Rockies, Project Shadowforge had been humanity's most closely guarded secret for 73 years. What began as a theoretical response to the possibility of extraterrestrial threats had evolved into a comprehensive military program that spanned every continent and extended far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Colonel Xander Nightstrike descended, the reinforced elevator shaft, his security clearance granting him access to levels that officially didn't exist. The facility stretched for miles underground, its corridors lined with technologies that would seem like magic to most humans. As he walked, automated systems scanned his biometrics, neural patterns, and genetic markers, security measures designed to prevent alien infiltration or mental manipulation. Colonel, Dr. Vera Moonwhisper greeted him at the entrance to the primary research bay. Her white lab coat couldn't quite hide the military bearing beneath. The Valkyrie Squadron is ready for deployment, and the Starfall Initiative has been activated. Nightstrike nodded grimly. How many installations do we have operational? 47 underground facilities across 6 continents, 12 orbital platforms disguised as derelict satellites, and our crown jewel, the Ragnarok array on the lunar far side. She led him through a corridor lined with massive windows overlooking production bays, where sleek, angular spacecraft were being prepped for launch. Each ship is equipped with our latest gravity wave propulsion system and quantum tunneling weaponry. The Valkyrie fighters were beautiful and terrifying, roughly the size of traditional aircraft, but powered by miniaturized fusion reactors and armed with weapons systems that could theoretically punch through anything the aliens might throw at them. Each pilot had been selected from the top 1% of military aviators and underwent years of training in simulators built from reverse-engineered alien technology recovered from decades of careful investigation. In orbit, Admiral Vorthak grew increasingly puzzled. His long-range sensors detected no military buildup, no frantic construction of defensive positions. The humans appeared to be going about their normal daily routines with only minor increases in communications traffic. It was disappointing. "Commander Nalteros," he called to his tactical officer. "Are you certain our translation protocols are functioning correctly? The humans seem remarkably calm for a species facing extinction." "Yes, Admiral. All linguistic matrices are operating within normal parameters. Perhaps this species is simply more compliant than others we've encountered." Vorthak's mandibles clicked in annoyance. He preferred his conquests to show some spirit. The last 3 worlds had mounted at least token resistance before surrendering. These humans were proving boringly predictable. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Captain Orion Steelwolf guided his submarine, the Deep Strike, through thermal vents that masked its signature from alien sensors. The vessel wasn't quite a submarine in the traditional sense. Its hull was composed of metamaterials that could bend light and electromagnetic radiation around it, rendering it effectively invisible to most scanning technologies. "Captain," his sonar operator reported, "we're receiving the activation signal from Shadowforge Command. All hunter-killer packs are in position." Steelwolf smiled grimly. Humanity had learned from every science fiction story, every military history lesson, every hard-won victory against seemingly impossible odds. The aliens expected a primitive species armed with chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. They were about to discover that humanity's greatest strength had always been their ability to prepare for the unthinkable. "Signal the fleet," he commanded. "Execute Protocol Surprise." Across Earth's oceans, 43 submarine analogs began their ascent toward the alien fleet, their crews trained for this exact scenario. In hidden mountain installations, massive railgun arrays powered up, their targeting systems locked onto the largest alien vessels. And in laboratories around the world, scientists made final preparations for humanity's most audacious gambit. The aliens had made one critical error in their assessment. They assumed that a species still confined to one planet must be technologically inferior. They hadn't considered that a species intelligent enough to split atoms and sequence DNA might have been preparing for their arrival long before they ever showed up. The attack began at 0347 GMT, precisely when human analysts calculated the alien fleet would be at its most vulnerable, during their equivalent of a sleep cycle, when approximately 60% of their crew would be in regenerative stasis. Lieutenant Commander Raven Stormforge led Alpha Squadron through the thermosphere, her Valkyrie fighter's quantum engines producing no detectable signature as they approached the alien perimeter. The craft's bio-neural interface translated her thoughts directly into flight commands, allowing for reaction times measured in microseconds rather than the typical human response delay. "Alpha lead to all wings," she transmitted through quantum-encrypted channels that the aliens couldn't intercept. "Primary targets are the command vessels. Remember, these ships are designed to intimidate primitive civilizations. They're not built for actual combat against peer adversaries." Her tactical display showed the alien fleet in all its presumed glory. Massive, ornate vessels that looked more like ceremonial art pieces than warships. Dr. Brightforge's analysis had been correct. The Kethmori were used to facing civilizations that surrendered at the first show of force. Their ships prioritized psychological impact over combat effectiveness. Aboard the Dominion's Edge, Admiral Vorthak was reviewing tribute collection schedules when every alarm in the ship began screaming simultaneously. Commander Naltaros rushed to his station, his multiple arms working frantically across control surfaces. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy buildups across the planet's surface. Whatever they're powering up, it's beyond our sensor classification parameters." Before Vorthak could respond, the first railgun salvo struck his outer perimeter ships. The kinetic projectiles, accelerated to 17% of light speed, punched through alien shields like they were made of paper. The lead destroyer, Subjugation's Promise, simply ceased to exist in a brilliant flash of vaporized metal and exotic matter. "What in the name of the hegemony?" Vorthak began, then stopped as his tactical display lit up with incoming objects, dozens of them, approaching from impossible angles, moving with acceleration curves that suggested technology far more advanced than anything his species had encountered. Raven Stormforge smiled grimly as her squadron's targeting systems achieved lock-on. The Valkyrie fighters had been designed based on captured alien technology, but improved through human engineering principles. Where alien design prioritized elegance and intimidation, human design prioritized lethality and survivability. "Fox 1," she called, launching her primary weapon, a quantum torpedo that existed in a state of partial dimensional phase. The weapon passed through the alien ship's shields as if they weren't there, then solidified inside the hull before detonating. The alien cruiser. Eternal dominance buckled and twisted as the explosion tore it apart from within. Secondary explosions cascaded through its systems as alien engineering proved unable to contain the catastrophic failure. "Impossible," Vorthak breathed, watching his fleet's outer screen collapse under the human assault. "These primitives shouldn't possess such technology. Our intelligence reports indicated they were barely capable of interplanetary travel." Commander Naltaros worked frantically to coordinate a response. "Admiral, I'm detecting additional human vessels rising from there. Oceans. Configuration unknown, but energy signatures are concerning." Captain Steelwolf's submarine broke the surface in a cascade of superheated steam, its hull transforming as metamaterial panels shifted to reveal weapon emplacements. The Deep Strike and its sister ships were humanity's ace in the hole. Vessels, designed to operate in the deep ocean where alien sensors couldn't detect them, equipped with weapons systems that could engage targets in orbit. "All ships commence Operation Depth Charge," Steelwolf commanded. The submarine's primary weapon, a gravity wave projector derived from theoretical physics that had taken humanity 40 years to make practical, powered up with a sound like reality tearing. The gravity pulse struck the alien heavy cruiser Dominion's Wrath and simply crumpled it like an aluminum can. The ship's exotic matter power core containment failed, creating a brief artificial star that illuminated half the planet. Across the alien fleet, panic began to set in. These weren't the primitive bipeds they'd expected to find. The humans were fighting with technology that in some cases exceeded Kethmori capabilities, and their tactics showed a level of sophistication that suggested they'd been planning for. This encounter for decades, Admiral Vorthak's six eyes focused on the tactical display with growing horror. In the space of 10 minutes, humanity had destroyed over 40 of his ships and showed no signs of slowing their assault. His fleet, designed to cow primitive civilizations into submission, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that shouldn't exist. "Commander," he said, his voice tight with barely controlled fear, "signal the hegemony. Tell them we need reinforcements. All of them." The emergency beacon from Admiral Vorthak's fleet reached the Kethmori hegemony's capital world of Morthak. Prime within 6 hours, carried by quantum entanglement communicators that bypassed the normal limitations of faster-than-light travel. High Admiral Zis Vektharian, Supreme Commander of the hegemony's military forces, studied the transmission with growing disbelief. 47 vessels lost in the first wave of attacks, she repeated, her mandibles clicking in agitation. A primitive species, with barely any spacefaring capability, has somehow managed to destroy nearly half a subjugation fleet. Her aide, Captain Kil Mordendos, shifted uncomfortably. "Hi, Admiral. Admiral Vorthak is requesting immediate reinforcement. He suggests deploying the 7th Armada." Vektharian's laugh was like grinding metal. "The 7th Armada? Against a species that hasn't even achieved interstellar travel? Vorthak has clearly suffered some kind of mental breakdown. Send the 42nd Reserve Squadron. That should be more than sufficient to handle whatever primitive weapons these humans have cobbled together." Meanwhile, Earth's military leaders gathered in the Pentagon's deepest bunker, coordinating humanity's first interplanetary war. General Torque studied the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. The first phase of Operation Surprise had exceeded all expectations, but everyone knew the real fight was just beginning. "Dr. Brightforge," he addressed the xenobiologist, "your analysis of their response patterns?" Brightforge manipulated a holographic display showing alien fleet movements. They're regrouping into a defensive formation around their command ship. Classical military doctrine. They're treating this like a conventional engagement between peer civilizations. They still don't understand what they're facing. President Nighthawk's voice came through the secure channel. "What do you mean, Doctor?" "Ma'am, every species the Kethmori have conquered followed predictable patterns of technological development. They assume advancement follows a linear path. Space travel leads to energy weapons, leads to shield technology, leads to faster-than-light communication. But humanity has never followed predictable patterns." Colonel Nightstrike nodded from his position at Shadowforge Command. "We've been preparing for this specific scenario for over 70 years, while other species developed space. Travel first, we focused on weapons technology. While they prioritized exploration, we prioritized survival. We're not more advanced than they are. We're differently advanced." The second wave of human attacks began with a coordinated strike from the lunar surface. The Ragnarok Array, humanity's most powerful weapon, had been constructed in secret using materials mined from asteroid belts and assembled using automated systems that left no trace for alien reconnaissance. The massive installation looked like natural rock formations to casual observation, but contained enough destructive power to sterilize a small planet. Dr. Moonwhisper initiated the firing sequence from her command center beneath Colorado. "Ragnarok. Array is charging. Target, alien command vessel. Estimated time to full power, 12 minutes. Admiral Vorthak watched the human fleet movements with growing anxiety. The primitive vessels were coordinating with a precision that suggested advanced battlefield networking systems. Their weapons continued to punch through Kethmori shields with disturbing ease, and their fighters moved with impossible agility. "Admiral, Commander Nalteros reported, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup from the planet's satellite. Whatever they're preparing, it's orders of magnitude larger than anything we've encountered so far." Before Vorthak could respond, the second phase, human assault, began. Captain Steelwolf's submarine pack had been joined by atmospheric fighters launching from hidden air bases across Earth's surface. But these weren't the sleek Valkyrie fighters from the first wave. These were something entirely different. The Fenrir heavy assault craft looked like flying fortresses, their hulls bristling with weapon systems that defied easy classification. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city, but their real purpose was to serve as mobile command centers for swarms of smaller drone fighters. Commander Iris Flameheart piloted the lead Fenrir, her craft's AI systems coordinating the movements of 300 autonomous drones. Fenrir 1 to all wings, commence Operation Swarm. The drone fighters moved like a flock of mechanical birds, their individual movements unpredictable, but their collective behavior devastatingly effective. They flowed around alien defensive fire, reformed after taking losses, and struck with surgical precision at critical ship systems. Vorthak watched in horror as his fleet's command and control systems began failing under the drone assault. These weren't just weapons. They were an entirely different approach to warfare, one that his species had never encountered. Commander, how long until the 42nd Reserve Squadron arrives? 18 hours, Admiral. Vorthak looked at his tactical display, watching human forces systematically dismantle his fleet. At their current rate of attrition, he'd be lucky to have 18 ships left, let alone his entire command. Signal the humans, he ordered. Request immediate ceasefire for negotiations. General Torka received the alien transmission with grim amusement. They want to negotiate? After demanding 10 million slaves and threatening to exterminate our species? What should we tell them, General? Asked Colonel Nightstrike. Torka's smile was cold. Tell them that humanity doesn't negotiate with would-be slavers. If they want to talk, they can surrender unconditionally. The Keth Mori 42nd Reserve. Squadron dropped out of hyperspace 18 hours later to find a battlefield unlike anything in their military history. Debris from Admiral Vorthak's fleet created a glittering cloud around Earth's orbital space, while human vessels moved through the wreckage like sharks through a feeding frenzy. Squadron Commander Thijs Corvaldris studied the tactical displays with growing dread. Where he expected to find Vorthak's 700 vessels maintaining orbital dominance, he instead counted fewer than 60 operational ships clustered in a defensive formation that looked more like a last stand than a conquest fleet. What in the name of the eternal swarm happened here? He muttered, his mandibles clicking nervously. His communications officer, Lieutenant Vex Morthanis, looked up from her station with confusion. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the humans. It's addressed to you personally. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human female in military uniform. Her eyes were cold, calculating, and held none of the fear that Corvaldris expected to see from a primitive species facing extinction. Squadron Commander Corvaldris, General Hadrian Torque said, having obtained his name from intercepted alien communications. I am General Torque of the Terran Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to order your fleet to stand down and prepare for surrender, or you will share the fate of your predecessor's command. Corvaldris's laugh was a harsh, chittering sound. You dare threaten a squadron of the hegemony? We are 700 vessels strong, armed with weapons that could crack your pathetic planet like an egg. Torque's smile was predatory. Commander, you're operating under outdated intelligence. Let me provide you with a tactical update. The human transmission suddenly expanded to show a comprehensive scan of Corvaldris's fleet. Every ship was identified, by name, class, and armament. Their formation patterns were analyzed and countered. Most disturbing of all, targeting solutions had already been calculated for every vessel in his command. You have 437 operational vessels, Torque continued. Your flagship, the Hegemony's Pride, has a critical vulnerability in its portside shield generator. Your heavy cruisers are bunched too tightly to avoid chain reaction explosions, and your fighter craft are using predictable patrol patterns that my tactical computers solved 6 hours ago. Corvaldris felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature in his command center. The humans shouldn't possess sensors capable of such detailed analysis, let alone computational systems sophisticated enough to process that data in real time. You're bluffing, he said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Torque's expression didn't change. Ragnarok Array. Demonstrate our capabilities. Minimum power setting. On the lunar surface, Dr. Moonwhisper made a minor adjustment to the massive weapons targeting system. Instead of focusing on the alien command ship, she aimed at a small asteroid approximately 300 kilometers from the alien fleet. The Ragnarok Array fired. The asteroid didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment, it was a solid chunk of rock and metal approximately 2 kilometers in diameter. The next moment, there was empty space where it had been. Not even debris to mark its passing. Corvaldris stared at the sensor readings, his mind struggling to process what he'd witnessed. The energy output required to completely disintegrate that much mass was beyond Kethmori capabilities. Their most powerful weapons could crack planets, but this was something else entirely. Matter conversion on a scale that approached the theoretical. Limits of physics. That was our smallest weapon, Torque said calmly. At minimum power. Commander, you have 15 seconds to begin surrender procedures. Before Corvaldris could respond, his tactical officer shouted a warning. Commander, I'm detecting multiple human vessels approaching from all vectors. They're using some kind of stealth technology. They just appeared on our sensors. The Terran Defense Force had prepared for this moment. While the aliens focused on the orbital battle, humanity's true strength had been positioning itself throughout the system. Ships launched from hidden bases on Mars, cloaked vessels that had been drifting in the asteroid belt for months, and, most shocking of all, a massive battle station that decloaked directly behind the alien formation. The TDF Retribution was humanity's most ambitious project, a mobile fortress constructed in secret over the past decade, armed with weapon systems that represented the pinnacle of human engineering. Its appearance alone was enough to trigger panic in the alien formation. Captain Zara Ironwill commanded the battle station from her bridge deep within its armored core. All ships, this is Retribution Actual. Execute Operation Checkmate. The human fleet moved with clockwork precision. Every alien escape route was blocked. Every defensive position was flanked. The Kethmori found themselves surrounded by forces they couldn't detect until it was too late to counter. Corvaldris realized with growing horror that the humans hadn't been fighting a defensive action. They'd been herding his fleet into a carefully prepared trap. Every battle, every tactical decision, every apparent victory had been designed to position his forces exactly where humanity wanted them. Commander, his tactical officer reported, we're being targeted by over 3,000 human weapon systems. Our shields won't stop even a fraction of that firepower. Corvaldris looked at his displays one final time, seeing his fleet completely outmaneuvered by a species he'd dismissed as primitive. The humans had fought with a sophistication that exceeded even hegemony military doctrine. Signal surrender, he said quietly. All vessels, stand down weapons and prepare to be boarded. As the alien fleet powered down their weapons, General, Torque allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Humanity had passed its first interstellar test. But even as he watched alien commanders submit to human authority, he knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere in the depths of space, the Kethmori hegemony was receiving reports of 2 failed fleets and a species that had proven far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. High Admiral Zeus Vectharian stood before the hegemony's Council of Dominion, her career and possibly her life hanging in the balance. The circular chamber, carved from a single massive crystal, had witnessed the planning of 1,000 conquests over the past millennium. Never before had it hosted a debriefing on 2 consecutive military disasters. Explain to us, intoned Supreme, Counselor Thex Vormachion, how a primitive species confined to a single star system managed to defeat 2 of our fleets. Vectharian's mandibles clicked nervously as she activated the holographic display. Honored counselors, our intelligence was incomplete. The humans have been preparing for extraterrestrial contact for over 7 decades. While we assumed they were technologically primitive, they have instead focused their development on weapons and defensive systems. The hologram showed detailed scans of human technology, the Valkyrie fighters, the submarine fleet, the Ragnarok array, and most disturbing of all, the massive battle station that had appeared as if from nowhere during the final engagement. Their approach to warfare is unique, Vectharian continued, where most species develop along predictable technological paths. Humans have created specialized systems designed specifically to counter superior forces. They have weaponized asymmetric warfare on an interstellar scale. Counselor Keir Methtanis leaned forward, her ancient eyes glittering with interest. What are their capabilities compared to our own? In direct technological comparison, they are inferior in most areas. Their faster-than-light travel is theoretical at best. Their energy production is barely sufficient for planetary needs, and their industrial capacity is limited to a single world. Vectharian paused, her voice becoming grim. However, their weapons technology exceeds our own in several critical areas, and their tactical doctrine is unlike anything we've encountered. The hologram shifted to show human battle formations, coordinated movements that suggested a level of battlefield networking that impressed even hegemony military analysts. Furthermore, Vectharian added, preliminary analysis suggests their defensive preparations extend far beyond Earth itself. We've detected what appear to be automated monitoring stations throughout their stellar system, and our intelligence indicates they may have established hidden installations on multiple worlds. Supreme Counselor Vormachion's voice resonated through the chamber. Are you suggesting that this species poses a legitimate threat to the hegemony? Before Vectharian could answer, an aide rushed into the chamber carrying an urgent communication. The Supreme Counselor's expression darkened as he read the transmission. It appears, he said slowly, that the humans have just solved the question of their interstellar capabilities. The communication contained a single message, transmitted, on frequencies that shouldn't have been possible for a species limited to light-speed communication. It was addressed to the hegemony's capital world, sent from Earth, and had somehow arrived faster than their own military reports. The message was brief and to the point. To the Kethmori hegemony, humanity does not seek war, but we will not tolerate slavery or conquest. Your surviving forces are being treated according to the Geneva Conventions and will be returned once suitable arrangements are made. Any further attempts at conquest will be met with the full defensive capabilities of the Terran Defense Force. We suggest diplomatic contact through established protocols. Signed, President Elena Nighthawk, United Earth Government General Hadrian Torque, Terran Defense Force Dr. Lysander Brightforge, Xenological Research Division. What truly disturbed the hegemony leadership wasn't the message itself, but what it implied. Humanity had somehow developed faster-than-light communication despite lacking interstellar travel capabilities. Their technology tree was completely unlike anything the hegemony had encountered. On Earth, the celebration was muted. Humanity had won its first interstellar war, but the cost had been significant. 17 pilots had been lost, 3 orbital installations destroyed, and the revelation of humanity's hidden capabilities meant that peaceful development was no longer an option. President Nighthawk addressed the United Nations Security Council via holographic conference. Ladies and gentlemen, the age of human isolation is over. We've demonstrated our ability to defend ourselves, but we must now consider our place in a galaxy that contains civilizations capable of enslaving entire species. General Torque nodded grimly. Our intelligence suggests the Kethmori hegemony controls over 200 star systems. While we've defeated their local forces, they have resources we can't match in a prolonged conflict. Dr. Brightforge stepped forward, his expression thoughtful. Actually, I believe we may have created an opportunity, rather than just a problem. Our demonstration of force has likely shocked the entire galactic community. Species that have been enslaved by the hegemony for centuries may see humanity as a potential liberator. Colonel Nightstrike's voice crackled through the communication system from his Shadowforge command center. We're already receiving communication attempts from 17 different stellar systems. Some appear to be from species under hegemony, control, others from independent civilizations that want to establish diplomatic contact. President Nighthawk considered the implications. Humanity had sought to protect itself and had inadvertently become a major player in galactic politics. The decisions made in the next few days would determine whether Earth became the leader of an anti-slavery coalition or the target of every aggressive species in the galaxy. "Very well," she said finally. "Dr. Brightforge, prepare first contact. Protocols for diplomatic engagement. General Torque, maintain defensive readiness but prepare for the possibility that we may need to project power beyond our solar system. Colonel Nightstrike, begin preparation for what we're now calling the Exodus Initiative." As the meeting concluded, humanity faced a new reality. They had proven that Earth would not be conquered, but in doing so, they had announced their presence to a galaxy full of species that might see them as either salvation or threat. The age of human expansion was about to begin, whether humanity was ready or not. In the depths of space, automated human monitoring stations continued their silent watch, their sensors extending humanity's reach far beyond what any alien intelligence had suspected. The species that had once been confined to a single world was already preparing for whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at them. Humanity had wanted to be left alone. Instead, they had become the galaxy's newest superpower, and they were just getting started.